Disease caused by rats. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this, and I don't know how long it's going to be, but I woke up with a flashback nightmare. The year would have been 1980 to 1983, I'm not sure. And there's no record of this in Canada, but I know for a fact that the black bubonic plague was in Ottawa because I had a young cousin, my Aunt Lorraine's, my mother's youngest sister, son got it from a boy from India. Yeah, that's the way we travel. He was in India, either an immigrant or whatever, but he was in my cousin's class, and they were very close friends, so he had close contact. I'm not saying it's airborne like COVID, but by geez, you can get the black plague. And it is still available around the world. And right now, everybody's talking about that boat, the Hanaran virus from rats. And it transmitted from human to human in close contact. And we're due for another plague because right now we've got garbage sitting constantly for over a week at a time in our front yard in our apartment building on Kelly Lake Road in Sudbury, Ontario, and I'm going to record that. I've been complaining about it non-stop. We don't have proper garbage pickup. The city pays no attention. A little village outside of Sudbury has rat infested. The fact that it's outside and they've been trying to deal with it, the city won't do anything to help them, and nobody's paying any attention. Rats are a deadly, deadly rodent that carry disease, and they nearly wiped out Europe. Back in around the year, I forget what year, but anyway, there's a record of that, the Black Plague. And yes, it's passed from people to people in close contact. But we're getting so careless. Our landfills, dump sites are full of rats. Nobody's paying any attention, and nobody's doing anything about it. And I'm really sick and tired of this nonsense. Because yes, it was in Canada, and it was imported from India. And we don't even have health checks on people traveling all over the world. It's ridiculous. And my aunt was particularly not grateful, but I got a phone call from my mother, and she said, "Trudy, your cousin's going to die. He's got the Black Plague." They identified it, but they weren't treating it properly. Idiots. And what made it worse was my aunt's husband, Rene, had been caught unfaithful with a nun, and he was the most verbally abusive, verbal diarrhea, shit coming out of his mouth, and Lorraine was just collapsing in tears, and Yvonne, my uncle, called my mother and said, "Get Trudy over there," because everybody knew Trudy's a fighter. So I went on the pretext of skiing. And I'm going to make a long story short. When I got there, the first thing I did was I said to Rennie, "You either shut your damn mouth and I'm closing the door on you, or you leave and go under your nun and leave this family alone. Your son's going to die." And I turned to Lorraine and I said, "You get over there to the hospital and you threaten $1 million lawsuit if they don't treat him." I said, "Never mind if you're going to get a lawyer. I'll take care of that. You just tell them that you've got somebody here and I'm going to get a lawyer and I'm going to do a multi-million-dollar lawsuit and I'm going to go all over the media." I said, "Now you get over there and you sit there and you don't leave until he gets treatment." And when she left and Rene, his father, left, this is what I'm left with. I have no contact with that family ever since. I never got a thank you, but I got one. The youngest boy, my little cousin, he gave me a hug and he said, "Trudy, thank you so much for being here. I know that's going to save his life." Nobody was doing anything. He understood. Yeah. And he was completely supportive to his mother. Now, the older boy, he did not have what you would call a full recovery. It took him till he was over 30 to reverse all the brain damage, and he graduated, I think, at 35 from university. But you know, nobody ever talked about it like some kind of shame, like it was their fault. No, it wasn't their fault. It was the government's fault, and it was the hospital's fault, and it was the doctors. We are unbelievably medically negligent. And Sudbury's going to wind up with a disease because we're going to be rat infested. It's just terrible. Now, our owners in our building are foreigners. There's nobody here. I have no phone call if there's an emergency. No, I have to email. Yeah, well, if there's a hydro failure or an internet failure, yeah. This is ridiculous. But anyway, yes, rats cause disease, and it's going to get worse. And I'm just having such flashbacks. Yeah. They're coming by plane, and they bring their diseases with them. And there's no health checks. My God, in 1902 they had health checks, better than we have today. Okay. Anyway, my cousin survived. I heard little stories. They're very successful, although I've never had any contact with any of them. But I always remember him hugging me and saying, "Trudy, thank you for coming here." Yeah, because he knew nobody was going to thank me, but he was grateful. Always remember that. I don't know if he remembers it at all, but yeah. I saved a few lives because I'm a fighter. Yeah, bub. Okay, well, pulled out of that sinus attack. I thought I was going to choke to death this morning, but not bad. 85 in September, not bad. I may not be perfect, but I'm not bad. Okay. God bless to everyone suffering, and a special prayer for Ukraine. I'm praying to God that Americans and Canadians and Europeans stop that maniac in Russia from going any further. Okay. Bye.